All right. This is the last session of the day. So thank you for holding up until then, but I'm sure it will be the best one. So this is another panel discussion that I'm going to run with 5 panelists from our partnership organization. So we have 5 great partners that are going to walk you through one very important topic, which is the challenge on the solution for integrating real-time communication into Salesforce. It is a very broad question, and that's why I need 5 panelists to help me out with that important topic to show you the different perspectives. So before I introduce them, I'd like to summarize, I would say, a little bit the problem statement. What are we going to discuss today? So I'm sure all of you are familiar with the challenge of customer experience. Providing an experience that is consistent, personalized, contextualized, empathetic, requires to bridge and to break lots of silos. The silos can come from anywhere. It can be either different customer segments that you're running that have to experience a number of things that are different. You may have different channels, voice in your contact center, web chat on your website, mobile app, different silos of organization, your front office, your back office, your field service, and the different type of journeys. From the moment you onboard a customer, you sell him a new product, you service him, et cetera, et cetera. So all these different, let's say, facets of the customer experience in practice are extremely hard to put together and deliver a consistent experience. So this is I would say, the super problem that all of us have to solve in the industry. The belief of Vonage is that to be able really to put you in the best possible condition to solve that super problem is to work with the right platforms. And there are 2 really important platforms that underpin all these solutions. First, you need a communication platform that can embrace all the touch points, all the channels for all the employees and all the customers. If you cannot achieve that platform play, you are most probably are going to experience some silos. The second platform is the CRM platform, where you are going to federate all your data, all your context, all your processes for all your employees. And it's by bringing the 2 together successfully that you can really solve for that super problem. But in fact, this solution I'm depicting here is just not one solution. It's more a family of solutions. And that's why I have to bring in today my partners to give you some perspectives on how, in the specific market they have been working on, they have solved for that problem and what kind of solution they have brought to the table for the market. So all of them are extremely active in the Salesforce ecosystem, and that's why they are extremely relevant for the conversation. So I would like to bring to the stage first Robert from Help Lightning. I would like to ask Ronald from Quadribyte. Karan from SMS Magic. Shravan from Millennium. And Kevin from OneReach. So thank you everyone for joining us today at Dreamforce and especially at the Vonage Hub. So you all come from, let's say, a different perspective. You are either ISVs or SIs. You are very familiar with the Salesforce ecosystem. And I'm going today to walk you through a series of questions on your understanding of this market and these challenges. And I want to put you at ease already. It's okay if you disagree. You may not have exactly the same point of view on all these topics, And that's why it's important that we bring all these expertise at the table. So what I'd like to do first, sorry for this, is to ask you to introduce a little bit what you're doing in your business, how you have approached the solution I was talking about, what kind of use case you have solved for. So let's get started with Robert with the Help Lightning solutions.
Okay, thanks. So my name is Robert. I work with Help Lightning. We are an augmented reality company. So what we do is we merge two video streams together in real time. So it's pretty cool stuff. And so I can literally be here, put my phone, open my phone, connect with someone in Chicago, and they can point to whatever it is that they're working on or wherever they're having trouble. I can put my hand in front of my phone, and it'll appear as though my hand is in front of their phone. So maybe an easier example is, let's say the person in Chicago is a Comcast customer, and they can't figure out how to work that box. They don't know what an HDMI cable is or what a regular cable is. I can put my hand in front of my phone or in front of a forward-facing camera. It'll appear as though I'm touching their Comcast box. I can grab that cable. They can see my hand on their cable at their house. I can say, pull this cable. There's no loss of communication there. They see my hand, pull it out. They know. Reset this button, I can push the button. So that's the foundation of how we work. That's where the patents are. Where we work extremely well with Vonage is you guys are the video provider. We're all about lightning fast help, hence the name. And if we can't have the lightning fast help with the video, then we're kind of in trouble. So we are strong partners.
Thank you. So let's talk about another ISV solution with SMS Magic.
Hi guys, I'm Karan. I am with SMS Magic. What we do is predominantly we enable conversations directly from Salesforce, from CRM, because when you're conversing with your prospect, buyers, consumers, it's like real-time conversation, embedding into Salesforce, enabling with their workflows, process builders, whatever they want to do in the CRM space. So what we do predominantly is enable messaging is real time on their phone. The experience, what you envision on your handsets is what we deliver on the CRM side as well.
Okay, great. So yeah, we've been working together now for many years on what you offer. Yeah, complements really well our contact center offer, but everything is based on the same Vonage platform, which helps in breaking these silos of communication. Yep. Okay. Kevin, does everybody know OneReach?
I don't know. Hi, everyone. My name is Kevin Frederick, managing partner of OneReach.ai. We are a conversational AI platform. Within the Salesforce ecosystem, there are three common scenarios that we support. One is modernizing the legacy knowledge bases and information and making that context conversational so that you could ask a question like, is Monday a holiday? And it might say not for you, instead of just linking to a PDF that mentions that. Another way that we participate in the community is activating a lot of the CRM data and infusing that into real-time communications. So think everything from call routing to offering self-service experiences over web chat, WhatsApp, SMS, etc. And the third is taking journeys from the Salesforce Marketing Cloud and making it so that instead of emails and text messages that go out from donotReply@brandname.com as a one-way digital postcard, now we actually make those two-way. So if you were sending a promotion to say, come on in and make an appointment, someone could actually respond and say, how's next Tuesday at 4? And maybe through that negotiation, the appointment finally gets booked Tuesday at 4:30, and confirmations come out, and you're off and running.
So basically, you turn notifications into conversations.
There you go.
There you go. Okay, and so we've been introduced to our three ISVs, but let's see how our SIs are taking advantage of our platform. So please, Ronald.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Ronald Stillman with Quadrabyte. Our firm focuses specifically on enabling customers in the intelligence economy by focusing on data and integrations, analytics, and blockchain technology. Specifically, what we partner with Vonage on is getting their customers up and running on their communications API. So whenever we talk about customer experience, you can't give your customers a good experience through communication channels if you don't have that 360-degree view of your customer. And so that's one of the things that's really important to us, is bringing all of that data together, tying it into communications, and getting customers up and running quickly so that they can turn around and serve their end users.
Okay. Yeah, it's something we heard several times in the event, the time to value. Technology are complex. We heard that in the previous panel. The ability for customers to get quickly a tangible outcome for their investment is absolutely key.
Yes.
And last but not least, Shravan from Billenium.
Hi everyone, this is Shravan Lingam. I am working as a MuleSoft architect at Billenium. Billenium is a IT services provider. So we have very strong competencies for Salesforce and integration competencies like MuleSoft. So we help customers to deliver the products in time, and we fill that IT gap that they have, and we provide 24/7 global delivery system. So that's what all we do, and we help customers to provide the best solutions. Yeah.
Okay, great. What's interesting with many of you is that also we just don't do business in one region. You are all playing globally. Billenium in particular, we do a lot of business in EMEA. We are developing the business in the US, and same for all of you. So I think the platform vision is not just a technical vision, it's also an operational vision. We need to serve our customers everywhere where they are, even if they are multinational companies. We have this ability to provide the service.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'd like to jump to the first topic, the first question. In this complex setup of technology on platforms, nothing comes easily, right? There is investments that we do as vendors or as a service company, but there are still some challenges that customers are facing. And it's important that when they are considering some changes in their infrastructure, that we help them to identify these challenges and to find the right way forward. So I'd like to pick up your brain a little bit on this one, on what do you see are the most common challenges with the adoption of technology of communication, especially in the context of Salesforce.
Yeah. So, Salesforce is a very powerful CRM in the market, right? So, and integrating with Salesforce is something which the customers have to choose the right strategy on how to integrate Salesforce, because Salesforce provides many connectivity options for us, right? So choosing the best connectivity options out of it is a quite challenge for us, because security is one concern. So the combination of the connectivity and security is always a challenging thing to decide. So that's what I feel, which is main challenge for the customers to choose.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll go. So we have adoption is a big thing for us. So if you think about the first example I gave, which is connecting with someone in their home, it's kind of easy actually. So we have Cox Communications as a customer. We did 5,000 people in a week. We got them all connected, super easy. But the other part of what we do is with field service technicians. They don't think they need anything like this. They've been there, done that. They know what they're doing. They've been around. So getting them to agree to try something new, it's a big challenge. It doesn't matter how cool it is. They say, yeah, I don't really need you so much. So getting adoption after the first 100 or 200 is definitely a challenge.
Yeah, I think that echoes a lot a number of things we discussed in other sessions, which is the ability to break the organizational silos. Because sometimes you can have a project in one department, like the contact center, invest specifically in this area of the business, but as soon as you cross organizations, that's where you face some challenges of training, enablement, awareness, and I would say the employee experience or the user experience is probably as important as the customer experience. So, Kevin, I think you have a couple of comments about this.
Yeah, I think that's right. One of the biggest challenges we see is knowing what to build, not just how to do it, and thinking a little bigger. An example that comes to mind is one of our customers was recently named the most customer-centric brand in retail. So a real role model for how to be customer-centric and thoughtful and really cherish, these resources and these people that are driving their business. And they've been using various forms of AI to introduce self-service opportunities and to make scheduling appointments easier, to find a store, more simple. But the store ops teams and the contact center and the marketing teams were having a really hard time being coordinated. Mm-hmm. And so we were noticing these outbound marketing notifications with a call to action, hoping that a customer would book an appointment or come into a store. And that recipient might then call in to say, how late are you open today? And the systems they were using had no awareness that person had just been marketed to. A simple example is if you are promoting blue widgets being on sale, you will likely get calls coming in asking if red widgets are also available. And speaking of silos, the contact center team wasn't prepared for that level of inbound calls. They don't know the answer, so their metrics are getting trashed, and the customer experience is really suffering, because of that. So, and frankly, part of those limitations are because of the vendor ecosystem. The marketing tools that are being used and how that's a fundamentally different system than the CRM, even within Salesforce, makes these things very difficult to get right. And we see people having to make a lot of compromises in their design decisions to accommodate these technical limitations.
Yeah,
I agree with that. And coming to that point, so from when we think about customer perspective, so for them it is we have to deliver our solution ASAP. It's always as soon as possible. But when we are designing a solution, as he said, when we think about technical aspects, we should not be compromising on the security, reliability, and it should be fault intolerant. So these aspects we have to keep in mind when we are dealing with customers. Mm-hmm. We have to make them understand about that. Yeah.
So Karen, do you agree with what has been said so far?
Yep, and I like to add few points here. What challenge we see is in terms of our capability, what we offer on Salesforce platform is messaging. Messaging, we all are very immune to do messaging from our mobile handsets, right? But as a business, as a company, they want every communication being synced in the CRM because they own the data. They want to know what their reps are conversing, engagement, back and forth with their buyers. So that way, embedding conversation, so they think, how would be the adoption would be a challenge because their reps are on the field, are they on contact center side, whatever. So making a shift from a mobile conversation into the CRM conversation through applications like Voynich, SMS Magic and all. So that is one challenge we come across. Second is they have a lot of questions on the compliance aspect. How do we manage consents? How we manage opt-ins? So those kind of things are very immune where customers come and ask very generally, how are we complying to do messaging? So that way, guiding them, because we have been in the CRM world for a decade, we understand Salesforce technology, messaging technology, and then how it embeds and be compliant enough, either be your GDPR compliances, CCPA compliances. So giving them a framework for a company, for an insurance company who's engaging for renewals, etc. So compliance become a very critical element for them to use on the messaging piece.
Mm-hmm. No, I think we've touched on the two perspectives, really the change management on the employee side, but also the trying to steer the behavior of the consumers as well. When we introduce a new channel, a new way to transact, I mean, at the end, the customer is king. He's going to do what he wants to do. And as a business, we can propose, we can suggest, we cannot necessarily impose how he wants to do business. So this constant listening of the behavior of the consumer and adapting to it is absolutely a critical success factor. I don't know if some of you were to a session I ran a couple of hours ago where I've used a quote from a Gartner analyst that says, customer journeys are not designed, they are discovered. You have to discover what your customers are doing and adapt to it as well. So I think agility in the way we implement technology is extremely important. You have anything to add, Ronald?
Yeah, I think from a technical standpoint, one of the biggest challenges that we see with customers, especially when they're doing an integration of an API, is around just the ability to actually implement that integration. A lot of times you find that they don't have the right architects or the right developers in-house to execute on that. And so that creates a barrier of entry for them, which can lead to frustrations, delayed timelines for go live, and other similar issues. Or if they do have the in-house expertise, you then start competing with in-house priorities. So you have developers and architects that either want to be on a very specific project, or this doesn't necessarily align with what their day-to-day job is, but they're being tasked to do it maybe from higher up, from more of an executive level. And if you don't have that kind of buy-in and that kind of experience in-house, then you're going to end up buying into a solution that's ultimately going to get you nowhere.
Okay, yeah, good point. So for me, that's a very good transition to the next question, which is helping the customers to drive to the right solutions. We see that technology-wise, to solve a given problem, to build a specific experience, there are not just one solution available. You can use embedded feature of Salesforce. You can customize a number of things with low-code applications. You can integrate application exchange solution, or you can also build from the ground up with a different type of tools. So I would be interested to hear from all of you how you help your customers to drive them to the right, let's say, rational thinking approach on what kind of solution is best for their organization to fit their need. And it will drive us also in the direction of build versus buy, or SaaS versus CPaaS, which is maybe a mouthful, but an important consideration for the vendors and for the customers. So who wants to give a shot at it?
I can take a swing at this one. The idea that every brand and every company is now competing on customer experience is something we subscribe to. We think that that's been proven. And then there's all this talk about how much software developers can build and how fast, and what some of the internal limitations are. And as you kind of put these things together, you realize that we have a community of people building solutions who are not directly close to the problem. And there's intermediaries between the actual, those who are familiar enough with the problem to be helpful to solve it. And there are several degrees away are the people doing the solving. And then as those layers get introduced, the bureaucracy creeps in, the timelines become longer, and it creates this unfortunate reality where now you have to think in terms of 4-week, 6-week projects, 8-week projects to solve a customer problem that maybe have been revealed 2 months ago, and by the time you're done with the project, the problem statement has changed. And so if that's the problem, and I know everyone, we're all software companies, you can build anything you want. Maybe the real question to ask is, how feasible should the creation of the solution be? It's no longer about what's technically possible. I mean, this guy can make my hand appear like a peacock in front of Blake's phone, right? And it's like magic. But how can we deliver on those promises faster and invite the people closer to the problem to participate in the solution? And that's why you mentioned low code, app development really as potentially the future of software, right? We might not all be able to personally relate to this, but at some point there was a computer department. You had to walk down to the computer department, ask them to build something for you, and they'd do it. Now, what is a developer? I build software. I've never coded in my life, right? So the lines are blurring. These complex things are becoming more feasible, and now this democratization is fundamentally changing how organizations are trying to solve problems. So the build versus buy paradigm then starts to feel a little dated, right? Maybe there's like a third door, which is that of configure. And if competitive advantage is unlocked through how thoughtfully you can sequence pre-built capabilities, that starts to become kind of an interesting future to imagine.
Okay. So how does API fit into this picture?
Yeah.
Is it a gross to talk about API to a business, or is it now acceptable?
I mean, I know I'm taking up all the airtime here, but it feels like more and more business users are familiar with the value proposition of APIs and really celebrate it. And the next step might be, why not just let those people do some building without requiring them to have to code themselves? And then there's this whole governance question, and what if everyone could build code? Like, oh my God, what are they going to build? We talked about governance, earlier, and security, and you're like, stop, everyone stop.
Yeah.
But there's probably a framework, in there somewhere that allows organizations to think a little bit differently about, what it means to build solutions.
Yeah. So I'd be interested to hear from you about the perspective of SMS Magic, because your product is a very well-packaged product for a specific business need. Are you advocating to your customers that they should use, let's say, ready-to-use software just from a few clicks away, or are they also dragging you in the direction of heavy customizations on low code?
There are two sides to it. One is, yes, there are some heavy customization depending why they are, because some of our very large customers have very complex Salesforce implementations. So that becomes one critical element where they want some customization on their person accounts or some custom objects what they build in based on their businesses. But otherwise, we do advocate a lot of our customers. We guide them best practices, that why a pre-built product or managed product like us, who have evolved based on our decade experience on the ecosystem AppExchange, is that if you have a sales team and your processes keep tweaking or they get evolved based on your customer feedback, based on your different skill set in your team, then you need a scalable product where you need a product which can be tweaked, configured without a developer. But if you think hard-coded is one way of working, then we are not the good fit. And secondly, we consult our customers, if you just want to blast and forget, then we are not the good product for you to build it. But if you want to carry the conversations, give experience to your consumer, then we fit in. So wherever there's conversations, then we fit in, either be routing to your inside sales team, contact center teams, or your field agency. That's where we empower conversations for our customers, because our customers are engaging with high stakes customers. Say if someone is buying a house, that means it's a decision for his life. So we are very big in higher education, where students are engaging with universities, or universities are engaging with candidate students for enrolling for their curriculum courses, B courses. So it's all decision for life. So wherever there's conversation in real time, that's where we fit in. Otherwise, we say we may not be the good fit for you.
Okay, that's a good point. So any additional comments on this?
Well, so from our perspective, we're a small company. We have a pretty cool product. We do the platform as a service because they're great at it. We don't want to do it. We rely heavily on them for our success. So we're integrating a lot of different things together on our side to make the product better. And so again, the point is, they're forever. I mean, I'll echoing what you were saying. It's forever improving the product. It's faster. We're Help Lightning, so I'll take a step back on that. So it has to be fast, and it has to work, and it has to be accurate, because when you're putting two video streams together, you can't make a mistake. You can't be off by this much if you're doing something important. If you're working on, something live, electricity, risk of life. So it's very important that it's accurate. So again, that's not our thing, it's your thing. So the long story short is, we like the platform. We like working with these guys because they enhance our relationship with our customers.
And I think that, just to kind of add to what everyone else has said, really your decision to do build versus buy is going to depend upon your organization and what you need. And oftentimes I feel that organizations make a mistake in deciding if they're going to build in-house or if they're going to buy and install or buy and configure, as the case may be. because they don't have the right architect aligned internally. And typically what you see is you have an architect that is highly technical. And if you think of the organization like a skyscraper, you've got your architect down in the boiler room 24/7, and they're not going up and down through your organization and finding out what are the problems that they're facing and how quickly can we identify that problem. Oftentimes, like you said, identifying a problem 2 months after it first came up as a root cause, and those architects never saw it. Or flip that on its head, and you have an architect that has a very high opinion of themselves, and they spend all their time at the C-suite level, and they're not doing that communication downwards. So you can't really make a decision for build versus buy unless you know what your organization needs, you know how complex your organization needs to get. And ultimately, at the end of the day, you have to act as the tour bus driver for your organization. If you just let departments tell you where you need to go and what you need to buy and what you need to do, you're solving a very specific use case for a very specific, almost blinder type vision of what they want to accomplish versus solving a problem for your entire organization.
Perfect. So for me, that also helps me to transition to the next question, which is, once your customers have been guided to the right solution, where do you see really the critical success factor? Once you are really in the deployment phase, on the implementation, to succeed in the adoption of these new real-time communication use case that your product or your services offer to customers. So that may be more of a system integrator question.
Right.
So I'm going to start with you two, but of course, please free to chime in if you want to add anything. So Ronald?
Yeah, so I think that success factor is really going to depend on the organization that you're in. Your success factor may be your CSAT scores. So if you see an increase in that after you've deployed real-time communications and you've started creating that communication channel with the full customer 360 in mind, you know that you've accomplished something successful and you're on the right track. It could also be increase in revenue. It could be decrease in wait time on your customers. It could be how your customers are reaching out. They've transitioned from email and traditional SMS to more voice and video, if that's what your organization enables. So those are all things that you need to consider, all the different KPIs you should be measuring to determine if your communication channels and the way you've embedded them are successful for your organization. It's definitely not one size shoe fits all kind of approach. And I think that any customer that looks at another organization and tries to rubber stamp what they're doing is ultimately going to find that they're not going to have as much of a success as if they had identified their own problems, approached to their own solution, and then measured their own unique KPIs.
Mm-hmm. As an SI, you provide the consulting services to help through these steps of the deployments.
We do. So we take a very much, kind of like I said previously, a tour bus type approach. So a lot of customers that we talk to, they want us to go from A to B, and they think that it's a straight line and how to get there. And a lot of times they need to go A, B, C, and D. And we just want to know what is D, Z, however far down the roadmap they want to go. And we're going to drive them through that entire adoption. We're going to come in, we're going to do discovery. We're going to find out where their data lives, help them democratize their data, break down data silos, get to that customer 360, because ultimately at the end of the day, if you don't understand your customer, you can't effectively communicate with them.
Mm-hmm. I will quote you on this one.
Okay.
Okay, so Shravan, what do you think?
So when I listen to all these challenges and factors, I can feel it because I am facing it in real time with customers and all. So for customers, to be honest, it all matters is ROI, return on investment, and KPIs. So as a system integrator or the integration architect, I should be able to follow this model. I'm not sure if how many of you are aware of this PPT model, people, process, and technology model. So I personally follow this process, choosing the right technology first thing. So whatever we are talking about, the low code or no code, for example, the technologies like one of the products of Salesforce, MuleSoft. So choosing the right technology is important, and choosing the right people, so the team of developers or architects, right? That is really important. And the third thing, so we have a technology and we have people, but we also need a proper process to deliver this solution seamless way. So these three are the factors which I personally feel that we have to keep in mind whenever we deliver some solutions. So yeah.
Okay, great. Any other comments?
I would just say speed of iteration.
Yeah.
Deploying something's one thing. Being able to modify it and change it and keep up with the business and how customers, their preferences change is critical. And if everything is done in a waterfall fashion, you're going to find yourself in a tough spot.
Yeah. Great. Well, again, I am going to quote myself. I made a presentation about a few hours ago I used a play of word coming from the French, which is the translation of customer journey in French, which basically spells parcours client. And parcours is a well-known athletic discipline that consists in running around in the city on doing crazy stuff. And for me, this concept of parcours that is all about speed and agility illustrates perfectly the challenges we are facing in managing customer experience and customer journey. We have to be extremely fast, extremely flexible on the choice of technology, the choice of platform. It cannot be an afterthought. It has to be from the get-go. You incorporate this agility into your requirements, or not just look at the surface of the demo, I would say. You really ask why you come to that result, on how you can eventually do it yourself as a customer, so you can tweak it for your real business needs. So I will have today a shorter panel discussion compared to my colleagues that had it before. I'd like to open it up for questions, if you have any, for the Vonage partners.
Don't be shy.
Okay, so I know we are standing between you on the happy hour in about 15 minutes. So I would like to thank all the panelists for you, of course, for your attention.
Thank you.
So this concludes the second day of Dreamforce for the Vonage Hub. We are very welcome to join us again tomorrow. And please enjoy the party.
Yep.